think so. Right, good afternoon. This council meeting is being held under the Local Authorities Coronavirus Meetings Wales Regulations 2020. And can I first just remind you to keep your microphone on mute unless you're being called to speak. Right. Right. Do you want to introduce yourselves? Or should we just go ahead?
Just go ahead.
Just go ahead. Right. Okay. Right. Onto the agenda. The first item is apologies for absence. And I think we've had one apology. Hugh, you're on mute.
Councillor James, we need to start with election of Vice Chair.
Oh, I thought that would come after the...
No, it comes first.
Okay, well, we'll start with the election of Vice Chair. Do we have any nominations for Vice Chair? Leslie?
Can I propose Wendy Lewis?
Does anybody second that? Do we have a seconder?
Yes, I'll second.
Right.
I'll second.
Right. Is everybody in favour? Could you put your hands up?
Yes.
Right.
Fine.
Any abstentions? Anybody against it? Leslie? Oh, no, you put your hand down now. Okay. Okay, that's carried then. Thank you. That's Wendy. Right, we'll go back to the apologies for absence. We had one. Joe Hale? Anybody else? No? Okay. Disclosures of personal and prejudicial interests.
Chair, can I just give you some advice in relation to interests? The IRPW report does contain a section on basic salary of councils in the 2021 to 2022 year. So I would advise you all declare a personal interest. So I'll take a block declaration, but it will be personal interest only as you have an exemption that it's not prejudicial.
Right.
So shall I take a block declaration from all councillors present? Yes?
Yes, please. So,
Okay, thank you.
Right. So we move on to the minutes, which were 12 months ago. So was there anybody here that was at the last meeting, which was, as I say, 12 months ago, 6th of November 2019? Yes, right. Do we have any proposals to accept the minutes? Right.
Yeah.
Linda? A seconder?
I'll second. Yeah.
Leslie? Right. Thank you. Is everybody that was there in favour?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is anybody against?
No.
No. Right. Any abstentions? Right. Fine. Thank you. We'll move on to the next item, which is the main part of this meeting, which is the Independent Remuneration Panel for Wales draft annual report. So I hand over to Hugh.
Yes, please. Thank you, Chair. This report recently being issued, we've got to give our responses by the 23rd of November. I've had to cobble it together quite quickly because our council is beginning of November and I wouldn't have hit council, hence I've had to call this meeting at short notice. So firstly, apologies for that, but for me to get it into the sequence, I had no real other way to do it, short of calling another council meeting, which would have been an affair for 72 councillors. I'll go through it quickly. The majority of the determinations within the report are unchanged. However, there are some changes in relation to salaries, which I'll go through shortly, there are some changes to costs of care, which I will touch on, and there are changes to the amounts payable to our co-opted members. Everything else is pretty much as was. So if I take you to page 4, then the financial implications, that just sets out where the cost is in relation to the salary increases. In a nutshell, a basic salary of a councillor will raise by £150, and senior and civic salaries will get a 1.06% rise. So in effect, I think the biggest rise that any councillor would see would be in the region of about £450 to £500. I would like to point out within the annual report that I know a lot of people always worry about having pay rises when it's a difficult period. However, the IRPW are very clear that it is important that you take it, and they do. Back in 2009, they did ask, or they did try and ensure that the salaries were in line with the Wales median. We are well off that, because there was a bit of a race some years ago where councils tried, it was dubbed the race to the bottom, where people kept cutting salaries, etc., and other things grew. So all of a sudden the councillor's salary fell so far behind the Wales median that they're slowly trying to put it back into kilter, albeit they're still well off it. But £150 this time, again, makes a little bit of a difference. The IRPW also compare, perhaps to assist you, by comparing the salary increase to that of MPs and Senedd members, to show that their pay rises far are greater than this £150 they're suggesting that they are minded to determine. So personally, I would say, I'd have no comment to make on any of the salary determinations other than to accept them as presented. Bear in mind, lots of these are aimed to bring about diversity in local government, and we are very keen to draw people in, and they need to be recompensed for the good work you're doing. So I'll leave that. If you're coming in that area, I'll leave it there to start with.
Hugh, will you take questions in between?
Yeah.
Yes, Leslie.
Thank you. Whilst I understand totally what the panel is trying to do, I'm very nervous about accepting the pay award, as small as it is, because of the situation so many people across the UK have been in during the last few months. And I just feel it doesn't seem right to me, even though it's a small amount, as I say, that we accept this money. I appreciate that it's not as straightforward as it sounds, but certainly if I was a member of the public, I would not be too happy with us giving ourselves more money. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Leslie. Oh, Louise?
Thank you. Yeah, just sort of echo what Leslie was saying. Really, it's incredibly unfortunate timing, really, isn't it? Because obviously it's such a difficult time for so many people who lost their jobs and their incomes. But yes, I understand it is about making sure that people who, councillors who do, I'm sure everybody does work very hard. And some people, it is their only and full-time job. And if we want to have people from diverse backgrounds coming into it, they do need to be adequately, be able to live and afford to do the job. So yes, I'm incredibly torn because of the timing as much as anything, and as Leslie says, how it will be seen in the public eye. But it's important to note why it's being done.
Okay. Jude?
Thanks, Chair. Just perhaps Hugh can help here. Was this discussed at last council, Hugh, and was it agreed by council?
No, sorry. Each year, the Independent Remuneration Panel put out a draft report, which they give 10 weeks for consultation. They in turn then go away and listen to the consultation, and they will issue their final report, tends to be late February, for implementation from the 1st of April each year. So this is purely consultation document. What we're asking you to do today is to consider the draft determinations of the IRPW and for us to make a recommendation to council. There is no guarantee that the IRP will listen. You know, it all depends what other authorities in Wales will have to say as well. But it's just a chance for us to air our thoughts on the process. I do understand the points that are being raised, but as I said, we don't want to go back down the road of the race to the bottom and not attracting candidates from diverse backgrounds. And I say that also wearing my hat with the Welsh Government and the Welsh Local Government Association. And I'm one of the people as well. I'm the only officer that sits on the Diversity and Democracy steering group, and I really do feel be careful on this because it's important to help others.
Okay. Linda?
Firstly, I'm not happy about it, actually. Last year I didn't think that we should have a rise either. But I agree with you. I'm in a different situation to a lot of people. You know, I'm quite happy not to have a rise, but I know that some people standing for council, you know, they might need it. I would have been happy not to take it myself last year, but I think Mike Lewis, I think spoke to me and said, or maybe Hugh, that I wasn't allowed to not take it, that would look odd. So again, I'm torn. I don't want to take it. I don't want this, you know, this to be a rise, but I see where he was coming from as well. That's okay. That's all.
Anybody else? Wendy?
Yes, I echo what everybody says. I'm not happy about it because I've had issues with other things. Been in the media about items we have on IT, so I'm not happy about it, but I feel that we need to do it and we need to say we have it for others. We can give ours to charity if you want. You don't have to keep it. Give it away and that's fine. Nobody needs to know, but there are people who can't become a councillor. I don't need it because I get a little pension. I don't get a big pension, state pension, but there are people who can't be a councillor because the money is not enough. And it isn't enough because I work 24/7. I expect everybody else does. So it's not enough. If you went to work for this kind of money, you wouldn't even go, would you? It's not even minimum wage. So no. I think those are the answers. I mean, you know, we don't want it, but there may be a few on here who need it. So,
okay. June again?
Yeah, I agree with what Wendy has just said. Whilst we may not need it on this committee, there are some on council who perhaps have been furloughed, even lose the threat of losing their employment, and we will be taking more money away from them. I think we've just got to accept it.
Linda again?
Sorry.
Right, okay. June, is your hand still up? No, okay. Right, that's everybody. Can you continue, you please?
I think Councillor Tanner wants to come in.
Oh, right, a bit late then. Yeah. Gloria?
Yes, can I just reiterate what Wendy said? And it's a very important point, and this has always been the case. Every year we've discussed this, and every year we say the same thing, that, you know, we don't feel very happy about it. And I feel exactly the same way as the rest of the committee. But Wendy's hit the nail right on the head. If you feel really strongly about it, you don't have to take it. Obviously, it goes into your wages, but what you do, you get a direct debit and give it to the charity of your choice. And if you want to, you can tell your constituents that that's what you've done if you get any criticism. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Thank you.
No more? Right. continue, thank you, please.
If I carry on, yeah. The other big change is costs of care. And I want to tread carefully with this because I know how emotive this is as a topic and how certain, how difficult it has been for individuals. I'm glad to say that the IRP decided last year not to publish individual details online. And I will say as well that we as an authority are looking up about pulling historic documents offline as well. Maybe a little late, but we are looking at it quite seriously. This has changed. They've kept the informal and the formal carer approach. However, if the formal carer is registered by the, my mind was completely blank, the Care Inspectorate Wales, it's an unlimited amount that you're able to claim. If you're not, if you're an informal carer, then we should pay at a rate, at a maximum rate equivalent to the real living wage. You may be aware in Swansea that we've always insisted that whatever rate, whoever you pay, be they informal or formal, they should always be paid as a minimum at the living wage. And we did lead the way in this, and I know that's been replicated through much of Wales because of our work, because it seems wrong to pay someone less than the living wage because they're a carer. The fact that they might be youngsters, it has no real relevance there. So I'm quite glad of the good work we did there. But on this, I know a lot of people have expressed some concern because all of a sudden it's unlimited. The £403 monthly cap per councillor disappears and it's unlimited. And of course, it's an easy position for a story to say how much this could cost. Let's be quite clear. The number of claims that we have in a year are so minuscule. We have no real concerns of this escalating, and it will be managed within current budget. Please don't get scared by the fact that it's unlimited, because it's only a handful that ever claim it. And in fact, I would go a stage further. It's a concern to me that only councillors that have claimed it so far do so for childcare. People with elderly or other responsibilities are not claiming this, and that's something we should be looking at seriously to try and promote within the authority.
Right. Leslie? Okay. Leslie?
Yeah, thanks. Funny enough, with this one, I totally support the suggestion that carers should get the full amount and also should be encouraged to claim. I think everybody who has to care for somebody else should claim. Doesn't matter who that person is, because in this instance, it's the actual principle of councillors not being out of pocket in just the same way as if you were working in some other job, you'd have the same kind of perks of the job. That's a terrible word, but I think that's enough for me just to say I support this totally, and I hope this all goes through. Thank you.
All right. Louise?
Thank you. Yeah, just again, similar to what Leslie was saying, I think this one's a lot more straightforward because obviously it's a reimbursement for costs already spent, so it's not any kind of extra income for councillors, and I think it is a really important thing to publicise for, as Hugh said, anybody with any kind of caring responsibilities, be that a partner with a disability, an elderly parent, a young child, and again, if we want to have a diverse set of representatives, which I'm sure we all do, this is what we need to help facilitate people to do that, and predominantly I expect it's predominantly women that will be claiming this, and we need more women in local politics. We're not too badly off in Swansea, as we can see from the faces in front of us today, but in some other councils, I think it is quite a dire situation, and so I think this is a good thing, and it's to be encouraged.
Okay, Wendy.
Gotcha. I agree totally. I agree totally with childcare. The problem with carers, which I am one of them, and I said this last year, I will not, and because my husband won't allow me to. So there are a few people in the council that I've spoken to before, and they won't. They are people they're caring for don't want them to do it. It's a very difficult situation that people are in, because, you know, I mean, I won't do it because there's no need for me to do it. But there are some people who need to claim and should claim for being a carer. But also, you have to look at the other side of it. But the person who's not well might not like it. That's all I would say.
Gloria?
Oh, thank you, Chair. I got personal experience of this. I was ill most of last year, and I was also taking care of my husband. I will say that I was encouraged to claim costs of care, but at the time I wasn't 100% myself as far as my health was concerned, and I didn't go forward with it. But in hindsight, now that my situation has changed, I can see now that it's something that I should have done, and it's something that we should encourage members to do. You know, I had great support from council officers. I had great support from colleagues, and you know, I was in a position where I could have claimed carers allowance, but I didn't. But I can understand people who don't want to claim it, but I think they should go ahead and do it. Thank you.
Thanks, Gloria. Linda? You're muted.
Yeah, I agree with Wendy. It is difficult. I mean, Tony wouldn't want me to do it, and I wouldn't need to do it, but I find it a struggle because there was the week before last, I think there was 3 days when I was working so hard that Tony was on his own, and he was getting depressed because he relies on me to take him out or to be to have company with. And today I was determined to take him out because it was such a lovely day, and it was a race to get back and get in front of the computer for this meeting. So it is a struggle when people are getting older and they need the support. I mean, there must be people in the council who do have, you know, I mean, Tony's disability is the fact that he can't move around without or go anywhere without me. But I mean, he doesn't need sort of, you know, carers coming in to do anything for him. But it's a difficult one, and I think that it should be highlighted for people on the council to be able to have care allowance for people who need it, so that you can get on with the job. Yeah, that's all.
Okay. Thanks, Linda. June?
Yeah, I was a carer who never claimed the allowance, and I can remember we discussed this a number of years ago, and that's why Hugh took it to the Remuneration Board not to have it publicised, because many of those who need care don't want it known that they're claiming it. And now it's not publicised. Nobody knows who is claiming the attendance allowance other than the council who are paying it and yourself. And I think we should publicise it and encourage people to apply for it.
Thank you. Can you put your hand down when you finish, please? Right. Okay. Move on, please.
Yeah. The only other point I draw your attention to is Determination 33, which relates to co-opted members. Those are statutory co-opted members. There's only a handful. The chair of audit, the standards committee members, and 1 or 2 on scrutiny as well. their daily rate goes up by £12. Obviously, they get paid either a half day or a full day rate when they attend a meeting. Other than that, the report is the same. So I've got nothing to add to what I've written in my determination. So, what are your views on that, really?
Anybody got any other comments or questions? No? Do we need to take a vote on this one?
Well, just be clear what we're voting on. Are you all, the vote is, are you clear that you support the comments that I've written in the determinations in Appendix A? Basically, we're going with the flow. We're not fighting on any single, on any point.
Yeah. Can I ask you, what did you say the last increase was? I missed that.
£12 per day for co-opted members.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Did I just see Erica? No. June?
No, I've raised my hand to vote for it, sorry.
All right, all right. Should we do this back to front?
Yeah, I'll just go with that.
Is anybody against accepting the papers as they are? No? Is there anybody abstaining? No?
No. I'm really sorry, but I've misunderstood what we're voting on. I don't know what we're voting.
Are we going to? There's no actual recommendation. It is just the views of the committee are sought.
Yeah. So what you're voting on? The
Right.
vote, Leslie. The vote is no. We've had your views. The views of the committee have been sought. So you're voting on: do you support the comments that I have put against each determination in Appendix A?
Right, I have a slight problem because I want to abstain on the basic salary one, but on everything else I'm fine.
It's difficult to record that in the minutes, but I will certainly attempt some type of note to reflect that for you.
That would be fine.
Wish to abstain.
Yeah, just on that one.
Right. Anybody else wanting to abstain? No? So is everybody for accepting Hugh's comments?
Yes.
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 Yeah.
I've got Erica, you've got your hand up. Is that a yes or you want to speak?
No, thank you, Linda. It's a vote that I agree. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's carried then. Everybody generally wants to accept it. And we had one abstention for part of it. Right, move on with the
Thank you.
agenda, which is the last point, the work plan for this coming year.
Right. I think it'd be useful to try and set a work plan. I've deliberately not put anything in writing because I'm keen to see what interest you'd like us to look at as a committee. Now, bear in mind the purpose of the Dem Services Committee is a support network for councillors. Conscious the times you had of late with home working, how you're managing your ward work, obviously surgeries are impossible for you. So, what other things do you want us to consider so perhaps we can aid you in those ways? As aid, it might just be advice. It may not be a physical assistance.
Louise, you've had your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know if it's within the remit of the committee, but I was wondering if we could look at anything to do with, obviously, it's likely that voting for 16 and 17-year-olds is going to come in on a local level. Is that something that we could look at promoting as a committee? Does that come under this remit?
It doesn't, no. But I think, I will have a conversation with you without outside of this, Louise, because obviously wearing my elections hat, we are doing a lot of work on that.
Okay, great.
June?
Yes, thank you. So, I'm sorry to drop Wendy in on this, but as the champion for councillors, perhaps we could have a regular from Wendy.
I'm sorry, Jim, can you just stop a moment? Somebody's not muted and we're picking up their radio. Can you mute yourself? Right. Sorry, Jim, can you continue?
I don't know how far it got. Perhaps Wendy could report on a quarterly basis to the committee on any problems councillors are having, and perhaps the committee could then look at these problems and try and rectify them.
I would suggest that rather than waiting 3 months, if you fed them direct to me as head of dem service, I can deal with them quicker, and of course I can still bring them to the attention of the committee. But I don't really want to wait for 3 months to rectify a problem.
No, I didn't really mean Wendy is the champion for members, takes up complaints, but if she reported to the committee every 3 months on what she's been doing, and if there are any ongoing complaints, then we could look at it.
Champions report.
Individual ones that come up, I'm sure you can deal with them, Hugh.
Yeah, so a champions report is what you want.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, okay.
It wouldn't hurt if all champions reported to us so we knew how the council could get involved with the champions' work.
Could I come in on that? That's now in my portfolio, sort of general champions, and I would like, and I'm going to sort of hopefully pick that up, June. So I'll have a chat with you outside.
Thanks, Louise. Wendy, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, thanks for that, June. No, I'm only joking. I'd be willing to do that, as I always do. I ask you if I could send. I will say something now while we're on this subject, because I've had a lot of councillors get in touch about their IT equipment, etc. And I asked Hugh, and he said bring it to the meeting, because I think that I need to send around to remind people if they're having issues with old equipment, that they may have money sitting in the fund that they can use, because you get it every year plus what you get the first year. So if everybody's willing, I'll do that, send round to everybody. If you think that's a good idea, because a lot of people are struggling with the equipment they got, and there might be money sitting there that they can use.
Seems a good idea. Linda?
I know the bottom because I didn't want to
Am I supposed to be speaking?
Well, yes.
Got your hand up.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just there's so much background noise, I can't hear.
I don't know. Who's not? Gloria, are you not muted? Sorry.
I'm gonna mute now.
Right. I'm a bit confused really. I don't know what sort of problems you're supposed to be solving. I just muddled through myself. Am I supposed to be coming to you with problems that I've got? Can you just give me a bit more background of
No. I can assure you I cannot cure IT problems.
No, I didn't mean IT. I meant general. What sort of?
Oh yeah, well, anything that you come through as a councillor, you get in touch with Hugh or myself. It doesn't matter. I mean, perhaps Hugh would rather go straight to him, but some people don't like to do that. So
no, exactly. As long as the message gets given to anybody, so we can escalate and work towards it. I'm totally with you on that, Wendy. As long as don't sit on the problem. Someone is out there willing to help you. Just remember that. Be it myself, be it Wendy, be it anybody.
Well, I don't know whether everybody else has had as many problems as I have had with people sort of having a go every Saturday night. The amount of emails that I've got, the amount of problems that I've got, that I've been torturing the officers. It's just the workload, actually. I don't know whether everybody else has had a terrific workload over the last 6 months. But I mean, I'm just thinking I'm sort of, going under. But it's just, I don't know whether it's my ward that's going absolutely frantic at the moment, or whether it's because people are angry because of COVID. But I mean, has everybody else got the same sort of workload?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. My workload is trebled, I think.
Moan and got it off my chest now, so I've shut
That's fine. I can't help you with that. You've got to do it yourself.
Okay. I will also be bringing a report. It'll be next year, because in the year before a local government election, which is obviously the next one is scheduled for May 2022, I bring a report on councillors' allowance, and that's where we consider what model do we want going forward. I tend to do it after some autumn-ish, so autumn next year I'd be bringing a report to do with, do we stick with this bring your own device approach where you get an allowance? Do you want council kit? Not looking for answers now, but that's the type of nature that we consider in the report, and that obviously gets embedded then in time for May 2022. We can talk about how you've managed with teams. Have you had adequate training? Have you had any problems? Councillor training generally, is there anything you need? Do we need a session on online training? So I'm conscious I've helped a lot of councillors in the last 3 weeks about online training. So there's a lot of topics out there. Is there specific training needs you have? So those are the type of things you could have in a work plan that we can look at.
Right, Leslie, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, thanks. A couple of things. Just one comment about making use, if you like, of Wendy as champion for councillors. I think the role is as much about the fact that if you've got an issue to do with your role as a councillor, it doesn't matter what it is, and please don't keep comparing different wards. We've got different issues. It's not just to do with workload, it could be to do with what the issues are, or the makeup of your ward. But I think the point is, if you've got some kind of issue that you think, Wendy, even if not necessarily practical help, but just a soundboard, somebody to go and talk to. I mean, I think what you just said, Linda, that's exactly what you perhaps would like, just to go and say, oh my God, I'm up to here with all the work I've got. And it just helps because you're then giving, just sounding off, and Wendy's there hopefully just to sort of soak it up and take some of that pressure off you. That was my comment. The other thing that I was going to say on the work plan, and I think I've mentioned this before now, I think we should be regularly looking through the handbook, the council's handbook, and making sure that handbook is, for want of a better word, fit for purpose. And we've already raised quite a few issues. I don't suppose there's anything that specifically looks at how we're coping with MS Teams, which is one thing. And the other IT, the other things that we're having to cope with, and I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm getting to the point where I'm really getting overwhelmed with all the forms of communication that we're having to cope with. I wrote a list yesterday and I started off with 2 or 3. By the end of it, I've got about 8. And that was probably not all of them, but we're almost been expected to check that one, that email, check that. And I'm thinking, Christ, this is a lot that we're having to cope with. And maybe that's something else that we need to be looking at. Thanks.
Gloria, I think you were next. No?
Right, okay. Well, I've had a couple of horrendous months with IT, and I did mention earlier on that I'm on the Teams now with my mobile phone, and that's the only device that I have. I'd like to thank a few people because Wendy has been very, very helpful to me as my champion, and also Nicola Davis has been very, very helpful. And I'd also like to thank Andrew Stevens. So I'm now more or less sorted out. I know that I've got money in my allowance. What I've been trying to do is to avoid buying any more devices. I didn't feel very happy about that, but I realise now that I have got to get a laptop, and I should be putting in an application soon. So I'd just like to thank those people that have been very, very helpful to me.
Okay. Wendy, then June.
Thank you, Gloria, for those nice words. Linda, if you look back at your emails when we locked down, I sent everyone an email, every councillor, saying I'm always, even though I was ill myself, that I will be there for you. Just pick up the phone if you need to speak to me, if you need to swear at me, even though I don't like swearing, but you can speak to me. I have got a new name now, and it's called Agony Aunt. So you phone me if you need to, Linda.
Okay, thank you, Wendy. Joan?
Yes, some more work for Wendy. And yes, she said she'd contact everyone and tell them to update their equipment if necessary. Some councillors are not aware of how much they have left in their account. Can they be told how much they have left so they can decide whether to spend it or not? I've got everything I need, so I don't want anything else. But I'm sure there are some councillors that, like Gloria, that should be spending it.
Can I just say quickly on that? All of that information is already available online. It's all there. You know, you just look on your own name and you can see how much you've spent and how much you've got left.
Can I come back there? Because I can't get online to what I used to in the council. Oracle, is it?
No, this isn't Oracle. This is public website.
We get online to pick that up, you.
So swansea.gov.uk/councillors, and it's all there.
Thank you, Hugh. Linda, again? You're mute.
Yes, it's just that, I mean, Tony, you know, was a councillor, and when he sees, I agree with, was it Leslie who said about the different appliances and everything that we're supposed to be keeping on top with? And he said, I don't know how you cope with being a councillor now compared with when he was a councillor, and it was all so much simpler. So it is making me schizophrenic at times. So thank you, Wendy, for your offer of help. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Anybody else? No, there's no more hands up. I think that's the end of the agenda. That's the end of the meeting. Unless you've got anything else to add?
Could I just say, Chair, the next scheduled meeting is in November. I know that you are unable to make it. I'm wondering, because it's so close to this, because this is an extra one, I was going to suggest, do we actually need it in November?
When is the...
You give your apologies to us this week. I could get the date up.
I said I can't do that time. I could do earlier in the day, but
yeah,
not
but
that
council have agreed that time. So that, so I'm just saying, if we want to, you know, trying to be helpful, like, because this is an extra one to the schedule anyway.
Yes.
It's the 9th of November.
9th of November.
Could leave it to the following meeting.
That's what I would suggest.
Yeah.
Everybody in agreement? We don't need meetings for the sake of meetings, yes. Right. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. You can go and enjoy the sunshine.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
It's still shining.
Bye.